Hello Channel NITT viewers, I am DS, your psychologist, and welcome to another episode on Channel NITT. So Channel NITT primarily is a psychology channel, and we do cover a few themes such as psychological principles and MBTI. And during this period, we have been doing a lot of crossovers from one subgenre to another subgenre. So this is an ISFP and ESFP episode that is uniquely Singapore. We are going to use examples that Singaporeans will be very familiar with. Nonetheless, if you're not Singaporean or if you do not find these examples that I have given familiar at all, no worries, you can still use this video and have some insight into the ISFP, ESFP's personality. So in our previous episode on the ISFP, which we have just released, we have discussed the compatibility between ISFP and the ENTJ. But because the ISFP and the ESFP are really very curious personalities, so we are going to devote one entire episode talking about the SFP types. Okay, let's talk about the ISFP and the ESFP. Both these MBTI types are very similar because in their cognitive stack, they have Fi and Se either as the dominant function or the auxiliary function. So this is the cognitive stack of the ISFP and this is the cognitive stack of the ESFP. Because Fi is either the dominant function or the auxiliary function for the ISFP and the ESFP respectively, the SFP types are really very passionate about their values. Because they have SE, they are not afraid to voice it out.
Bossy pants, enough. I've worked just as hard as you and I'm just as good as you.
So of all the MBTI types, the SFP types are the most likely to be the most vocal about their own values. They will speak about their values very freely and passionately. However, since it's Fi, we need to take note that these values are usually personal values. Like, I am the best, so I deserve the best. Or this is not correct, I know how to do it correctly. Because the SFP has this inherent need to express themselves, they are likely to be bloggers, artists, celebrities, YouTubers, maybe even politicians. So I have identified a few famous ISFPs and ESFPs, and you can find them over here. Because the ISFP and the ESFP are also SE users, SE will also play a very significant role in mediating the ISFP or the ESFP's behaviors. SE can make the ISFP or the ESFP really very dramatic. While the SFP types are really very outspoken, sometimes they just appear to be ranting if they are YouTubers or vloggers.
Lee Kuan Yew was a person.
So as celebrities, the SFP types are really very dramatic, and sometimes their drama overshadows everything else. So this is also why if an artist or celebrity were to make headlines on the newspapers or the tabloids for the wrong reasons, they are more likely to be the SFP types than any other MBTI types. Another thing to note about the ISFP and the ESFP is that TE is definitely in the lower stack of their cognitive stack. So how is underdeveloped TE either in the third function or the fourth function expressed or manifested in the ISFP or the ESFP? First of all, because TE is present either as the third function or the fourth function, there is some level of logic in the argument or the values or opinions of the ISFP or the ESFP because they have TE and not TI. So this can be expressed in the fact that they are thinking of the community. So ISFPs and ESFPs do think about the community at large and not particularly about themselves. So they might shout, "Give us our CPF back, it is our money, I will help you to fight for it." Or, "Let's stop exams altogether, no more PSLE. Our students, our children are overly stressed, they might commit suicide." I'm so passionate now. It's so draining to be passionate.
Tell them return our CPF and we need transparency and accountability.
As you can see from here, because TE is either tertiary or inferior, the ISFP and the ESFP is unable to think of broader consequences. Yes, you can fight for the return of CPF, but what's next? Also, it may be true that the Singaporean kid may be really experiencing a lot of stress because of examinations. However, if you want to abolish it, do you have a solution for it? Do you think that taking away this stressor, which we call examinations, is going to do any good to our children? They are already so weak and soft. So the ESFP or the ISFP can really think that we need to do this, but because of underdeveloped TE, they do not have broader solutions and they do not think of the broader consequences. Another common characteristic between the ISFP and the ESFP is that both these MBTI types have NI in the lower half of their cognitive stack as well. Because NI is either the tertiary function or the inferior function for the SFP types, they are unable to see any trouble or backlash coming their way. So they just voice themselves without thinking of consequences. Coupled with lower TE, the SFP celebrity types may be very prone to physical displays of fury. So they might bash somebody up, they might really get into trouble. And an ISFP or an ESFP celebrity in the Western countries may even indulge in drugs. TE not only allows the user to think about the broader picture, to think about broader consequences, TE has this function of self-restraint because TE users can predict consequences, especially negative consequences such as going to jail or getting a bad reputation. TE also has this ability of helping the user to learn. So because TE is a lower function for the ISFP and the ESFPs, so this is why the ISFP and the ESFP can be rather unrepentant. When they make a mistake, when they make a blunder, they might repeat the same blunder again and again.
I won't ever change.
So this is very apparent in this fellow because he has inferior TE. I just heard him scolding me. My NI, oh. Now when the ISFP and the ESFP get into trouble, they are also very likely to drag their family into this trouble. Why? Just very dramatic. When an ISFP or an ESFP becomes so famous to the point that they lose their head, they might totally just indulge in their FI and SE. So if they are already an 阿姐, a queen, a diva, a king, they are totally going to indulge in FI. So they might really set boundaries that will appeal to their FI. For example, I am a leading actress now, no bed scenes for me. And yes, I don't want any male actors to touch me. Only I can touch myself. So how do you distinguish between an ISFP and an ESFP? So personally, I have typed these individuals as ISFPs and these individuals as ESFPs. So my basis of judgment is very simple. First of all, I think that ISFPs are more likely to stay behind a screen. So you can see that they are very passionate about their personal values. Due to the introverted nature, they are more likely to hide behind a screen and voice their opinions. On the other hand, the ESFP may be more likely to hit the streets because they are SE dominants. They prefer to really talk to people, they prefer to give out physical pamphlets, speak with them rather than stay indoors. Another way I look at it is that because the ESFP has TE as their tertiary function, at least they can still learn along the way. And as I have mentioned in a few of my previous episodes, when you become older, you will mature and you will start developing your third and fourth function. So during the elections this year, I have observed that Dr. Chi seems to have restrained a lot. This is only possible because TE is the tertiary function. If TE had been an inferior function, it is actually harder to restrain yourself. Dun-dun-dun-dun. Well, I hope that you have found this episode very useful. A lot of people have been asking me about Amos Yee since a long time ago. They say, why is he behaving like this? The reason is very simple. It's not that he's crazy or what. So a lot of celebrities that you see who always get into trouble, there's nothing wrong with them. They are just SFP types. And it is a very common trait for SFP types to behave like this because they are very passionate about their values, and because of SE, they like to express themselves outwardly, even if it means getting themselves into trouble. So our channel has been releasing a lot of MBTI related videos. If you are new to our channel, do consider subscribing and watching them as well. Okay, I'm going to sign off now and I'll see you in my next episode. Goodbye!